fourth stimulus check has been released. This video includes how long it could take to get the new fourth stimulus package approved, signed, and sent out to Americans. Welcome back to my channel, friends. Here's your daily news report and fourth stimulus check update. I post several times a day to bring you up to date on the latest news. Congress has authorized 3 rounds of economic impact payments to Americans, alleviating the financial hardships endured during this crisis. The later direct payments encountered more resistance over how much struggling Americans needed, who would get them, and the overall price tag for future generations. The 3 rounds of stimulus checks were signed off by 2 different administrations, the first under the former president and the latest $1,400 stimulus check in March by President Biden. President Biden has been very clear on his position regarding a fourth stimulus check. Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, said that Biden is happy to hear from a range of ideas on what would be most effective and what's most important to the economy moving forward. It has been reported that the White House staff has been given a presentation on automatic stabilizers or recurring payments should economic conditions worsen, with centrist Democrats along with their Republican colleagues fretting about the cost of more stimulus checks and their dissuasive effect of people seeking work. The president's full backing would be needed to keep the party in line. With the Senate split down the middle, just one dissenting Democratic senator would tank any bill containing more stimulus checks. Looking back at past negotiations that resulted in stimulus checks being sent out to Americans, the urgency of the situation was the most determinant factor in how long it took. Congress and the White House acted swiftly to get the first round of stimulus checks passed with little resistance. The direct payments of up to $1,200 per adult began landing in bank accounts in just a matter of weeks after the official start of the crisis.
Republicans are shining a spotlight on the reckless taxing and spending spree that Washington Democrats are riding behind closed doors. The radical left is pushing in all their chips. They want to use this terrible but temporary as a Trojan horse for permanent socialism. And President Biden, who ran as a unifying moderate, is either powerless to stop them or does not wish to. An avalanche of crushing tax hikes that would hurt families and help China. A government power grab over more of America's health care decisions, child care choices, family finances, and daily lives. Trillions upon trillions more in government spending when families are already facing inflation. None of this, of course, will get a single Republican vote in either chamber. Democrats have not even consulted us. They haven't tried to earn our votes. From the start, they plan to use a party-line fast-track process to ram through the Senate this version of their vision of America. That's why Republicans will not help this unified Democratic government with its basic duty to raise the debt ceiling. This could not be simpler. If they want to tax, borrow, and spend historic sums of money without our input, they'll have to raise the debt limit without our help.
Although calls for more stimulus checks began almost immediately, Congress did not get down to brass tacks until the summer. The negotiations between the White House, congressional Democrats, and Senate Republicans seemed to go in endless circles. Only when lawmakers' feet were to the fire, with a government shutdown looming, was there any meaningful momentum to get the job done. The third stimulus check became part of the post-presidential campaign for control of the Senate. The $600 per adult and child was blasted by the former president as too little, as he called for $2,000. The Democrats and some Republicans ran with the ball, which in part helped push the 2 Democratic candidates in runoff races for the Senate over the finish line. President Biden had made a promise to act quickly, but as well, the clock was also ticking towards a hard deadline of March 14, 2021, when enhanced unemployment benefits were due to expire. Congressional Democrats did not wait for their GOP colleagues to come on board using a parliamentary tool known as budget reconciliation, allowing them to avoid a certain filibuster and pass the American Rescue Plan along party lines. Not a single Republican joined the Democrats. Currently, House committees are marking up legislation for the American Jobs Plan, President Biden's infrastructure proposal. Talks between the White House and Republicans have come to stalemate after both sides moved their positions closer. But the latest counteroffer from the GOP negotiators was underwhelming in the eyes of the Biden administration. Talks between the White House and Republicans have come to a stalemate after both sides moved their positions closer. But the latest counteroffer from the GOP negotiators was underwhelming in the eyes of the Biden administration. President Biden wants to have a bill ready by the end of October, with or without Republicans, although he has said that he is committed to reaching a bipartisan deal. President Biden may have no choice with Joe Manchin, stating his opposition to doing away with the filibuster and reticence towards using budget reconciliation to forego working across the aisle. The senator from West Virginia was opposed to the third stimulus check until changes were made to target the payments more narrowly to those who needed it the most. If Joe Manchin and other centrist Democrats could be convinced to go along with including some form of stimulus check in the upcoming bill using budget reconciliation, the Democrats could pass the legislation in just a matter of weeks. But that seems very unlikely at best. Congress will also be considering before the end of the year the White House's budget for 2022 and his American Families Plan. The later would include an extension of the 2021 child tax credit. Which began sending direct payments to eligible parents this past July 15. President Biden has called for the revamped tax credit to be extended until the year 2025. If nothing is done, the enhanced credit and payments that could cut childhood poverty in half will cease to exist. Friends, thank you so much for joining me here this morning. I truly appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much, everyone.